dirt roads to rock crawling, two-buck chuck to screaming eagle, moonshine to 50-year-old single malt. We talk about it all here on Wheelin' Wine and Whiskey with your hosts, Jason and Chris.
Welcome to the Wheelin' Wine and Whiskey podcast, episode 265. Hello, Chris.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, man. How's it hanging?
You know, that's all it does.
Haven't heard that in a while, huh? Heard that? How's it hanging?
How's it hanging?
What up, bro?
Oh boy. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
What up, bro? Hey, so here we are. Another week, another podcast.
Another episode in the can.
This is a good one. This one, I learned a lot on this episode, and I wish you were there because there's a lot of propeller talk. A lot of ones and zeros, a lot of electrons, neutrons, Jimmy Neutron. I don't know. There was a lot going on. It's pretty mind blowing, actually. So, what I'm hinting at is CJ and I got to host some Rivians, the separate presidents of their individual chapters of Rivian clubs throughout. Well, let's just say the Western United States. It was Oregon was represented, the great state of Nevada was represented, and of course up and down California. So,
sure,
good stuff. So we sat down. CJ and I sat down with Arn, who is the president of All Things Rivian Clubs. So
that's the name of the club, All Things Rivian?
No, Rivian Clubs of America.
Oh,
so he's the president there. And anyways, you know, the talk between him and CJ, and I had a lot of questions. And after watching them, you know, we've had them run through the clinics, right? We've seen Rivians around. I got to drive CJ's right after he got it. It was impressive, and you know, but they flex like a brick. I mean, they're just solid. They're flat underneath. It's independent suspension. All of these were 4 motors, so 1 motor at each wheel. And when we had them at our adopted trail, we had some of the engineers with us from Rivian, which was cool.
Year.
A couple years ago. But what was cool was watching them go up a hill where the Jeeps and everybody else didn't really spin a tire. They just crawled right up the hill. And the Rivians, you know, it's like a tire had to spin before it figured out that it was losing traction and sending power to the other, because there's no lockers, you know?
Sure.
And so it's all ones and zeros. And so they actually, the engineers took a lot of that data and, you know, changed it up. It's all software, right? So a couple changes here and there, boom, and made it better. So it was impressive to see them up close, personal now, working with them directly, and it has improved. Is it still 100%? No, but it's pretty damn impressive. They've definitely made some leaps and bounds in the last couple years. So, So anyways, this is heavy propeller talk. If you are interested in taking a deep dive into the E.V.E world, of course, we've covered a lot of EVs in the past here. You know, the original E.V.E, right, with our friend Boston Kyle and Will Speck racing the first E.V.E at King of the Hammers. And then, of course, our good friends Keith and Melissa with the Test 10, the S10. See, I didn't call it a Toyota this time. And unfortunately, if you're keeping up with the grams, he just had a major issue with, I guess, just one cell decided to leave the chat, and it took out the whole battery box.
Catastrophic.
It is catastrophic. It could have been a hell of a lot worse, right? Luckily, he was able to, his system proved itself, and he was able to pull the battery box out of the test tin, out of the barn, and saved everything but the battery box. And it just, when lithium catches on fire, I guess there's no real way to put it out.
It's a runaway.
It's a runaway, and so unfortunately, but there's pros and cons with anything, right? I mean, gas lights on fire too. So we've seen plenty of race cars with fuel fires and stuff too. So, you're
Plenty of
dealing
Fords
with
on the side of the road burning.
you're
too.
dealing with energy, right? To propel this machine down the trail or the road, and pretty cool stuff. So, without further ado, why don't we just jump right into this interview? And we do need to say that the audio, I think the audio quality is okay. Chris is working his magic on it, but CJ had to do some high level stuff to try and make this work to record. I don't understand it all, but I guess it came out okay. So hopefully it sounds okay on your end.
Yep. Let's make it happen.
All right. All right, we are here at Hollister Hills State Recreation Area in Area 5, and we just got done with, I'll say 24 hours of some electrified entertainment. And so I am here joined by CJ with a CJ with a Rivian. How you doing, CJ?
Never been better, Jason. I'm out doing what I love.
Well, there you go. We're out in the outdoors. Beautiful day, hot day. Beautiful night. And then we are joined by another person here. Arn you are the president of all that is Rivian. What is your official title, Arn?
I'm the executive director of Rivian Clubs of America.
There you go. All right. Well, cool. Welcome. So this is a unique event. CJ and I have been teaching off-road safety for years, and CJ got a Rivian a couple years ago, and so then you acquired all these Rivian friends now, and so we had 8 rigs out here today in Hollister doing some pretty intense off-road training, safety training, how to drive. I learned a ton about how a Rivian works, the computer systems on them, and how the drive system works, and all the different variations that you can adjust on the fly. So it was pretty eye-opening for me, being an old-school wheeler with gears and gas-fired breathing engines and stuff. So, so this is cool. So, guys, let's talk all that's Rivian. 100% electric. This is not a hybrid operation here. It is 100% electric. So, one of you two, CJ or Arn, just give us a brief 30,000-foot level of what a Rivian is.
Sure, Jason. Happy to help you with that. Rivian is a 7,000-pound aluminum steel-bodied vehicle with 4 tires and 4 motors for these ones that we were using today. That means it has 4 electric motors, producing 835 horsepower. And it carries a big battery. It's equivalent of about 4 gallons of gasoline. So, and that Rivian can go almost 300 miles on that 4 gallons of gasoline.
On 4 gallons of gasoline, which would be unheard of in any gas.
So that's 135 kilowatt hour battery.
What'd you say for horsepower?
835 horsepower.
Horsepower. Now, what's the torques?
It's 900 and something?
Almost 1,000, right?
900, no, like 908.
Oh, 908.
908.
But still more than enough.
Yeah, that's more than plenty, right?
Plenty. Many of these Rivians can go 0 to 60 in 3 seconds
Well,
flat.
and that's because the torque is instant, right?
Instant.
Yeah, it's instant torque. So which is good and bad at times.
It doesn't always happen off-road, and sometimes it happens when you don't want it to.
Right.
Yes.
No, they're incredible vehicles and very plush inside, I might add. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, nothing like wheeling with air conditioning the whole time.
Well, and the cool thing is as your rig's sitting out here, it was up to, I don't know, I'm going to say 98 degrees today. It was just under 100. I saw 108 on somebody's screen that I was riding with, I think maybe Gene's screen. But you can have your air conditioner running when the car's not even just sitting there, right?
Yeah.
The dog mode,
we got
or something?
We got a pet mode.
Pet mode. That's pretty cool. So
we also have the ability to program it at different times of the day. So, like, if you're getting off work and it's hot because you're working in Silicon Valley or whatever, you can set it so that 30 minutes before you get in your truck, it starts
cools it down.
It starts cooling it down.
Does it like brew a latte for you and stuff too? So you got like a little latte
I think
when you sit
I think
down?
that's coming. I think that's in the next in the R2
That's a
or the
subscription
R3.
service.
That's a
Yeah,
subscription.
okay.
That's additional. That's additional.
No, but you
service.
could plug your cappuccino machine in the back
You
into a
could.
110, and you could just brew your coffee while you're waiting for your car to cool down.
True story. I was on the Rubicon. We were heading out from being in there for a weekend, and coming in was some Rivian. I don't know if they were executives. They were part of the Rivian team. And I look out, and I saw they were Rivians because it's got that distinctive grill that lights up and everything, and the headlights, right? And I'm like, there's fire, there's smoke. What's going on? And as we got closer, one guy had his Traeger in the back, smoking up some meat while he was driving into the Rubicon Trail. So I thought, well, that's kind of cool. So yeah, you've got all the watts and amps. You can run 110 appliances.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of Rivians here this year, or just this weekend, that have camp kitchens in them, and they've got a 2-burner induction stove on them.
Stove,
1,500 watts, and they're fantastic. Boil water really quick. I cooked a tri-tip on it. I've done a couple of like football tailgates with it, and it's been fantastic. I go camping, bring it out, cook meals for 15, 20 people on just two burners.
So on the pickup truck behind, and it's 4 seats, right? You got it like a crew cab, and behind that second row of seats, there's this compartment door that opens up, and whoop, out rolls this kitchen on which is aftermarket, right?
Yep,
like
it's
you can
aftermarket.
add that on. There's some companies that build that, but I was checking out. I think was that Gene next to me that had that induction stove going there. Yeah. So there you go. That's pretty cool. I mean, what a cool setup.
There's some guys in San Francisco, Matthew and Sarah, Thunderbolt Adventure Supply Company, that make these kitchens for folks. And that's because Rivian had said they were going to make one, and they kind of bowed out, and they said, hey, we're going to answer the call.
We can make that happen.
I'm an mechanical product engineer. I'm going to make something happen and build myself a kitchen and share it with the world.
And then you put an RTT, a rooftop tent on there. I mean, you got the ultimate overlander.
You haven't heard
Right
about
there.
CampStream yet, Jason.
No, I haven't. Okay, tell enlighten me.
There's more than one solution to air condition your rooftop tent.
Say
So
what?
Some of these people like their comfort so much during the day that they want to continue it at night. So
Okay.
they air condition their tent.
How's that work?
I don't know. It's one of those fancy Rivian things. I'm still learning
It's
the ropes.
Fugazi Fagizzi. It's magic.
Essentially, they run a dryer hose from a window
Okay.
up into your tent.
Okay.
And so they can run their heating and cooling in their truck, and they can heat and cool their
Okay,
tent.
so it uses the
So-
truck's heating and cooling system.
And the Rivian doesn't need pet mode to make that happen. It has camp mode.
It has camp mode.
So you enable camp mode in your Rivian, and it levels the truck so that your rooftop tent is level.
Oh, get the F out.
yeah.
It then turns off the mirror lights and horn and stuff, so it's courtesy mode to
Your
not
puddle
upset
lights,
your other campers.
yeah.
Your puddle lights that have
Yeah.
the Rivian logo.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
it's
a
got,
bat-
of course
like a bat
it's got
signal.
the Rivian logo.
It's like a
on
bat
it.
signal for
Gotta let
Rivian.
everybody know the bat signal.
And then you can set your climate control to stay on at a nice, reasonable temperature, whether it's heating or cooling, and climate condition your tent.
Oh my God! This
You can go into that screen, and you can set your outlets to be on or off, and you can time them for up to 3 days
Got
being
it.
on the whole time.
Oh no kidding!
So
And
Wow.
people listening, like, what is battery power? What is a kilowatt
Yeah.
hour? Let's talk about for a split second that
Yeah.
Rivian
What-
is rolling around on what the same amount of power that my house uses in 10 days.
In 10 days. Okay,
So I've got a
that
third
paints
of a
good-
month's worth of power. Now, you guys not in California with cheaper energy rates, maybe that's a couple days of power, not 10.
cheaper energy rate.
But in California, I use about 300 to 400 kilowatt hours a month in my house
Okay.
if I'm not running the air conditioning.
Okay.
So the Rivian's got a 135 kilowatt hour
At
battery
100% charge.
at 100% charge. That's
There
about
you go.
10 days worth of power.
Okay.
yeah, most of the batteries, wall batteries that they put in when you do solar panels, they're only 20 kilowatt hours.
Really? Okay.
So-
Powerwall's
So
13.
Yeah.
that paints a good picture of what kind of capacity you're working with here.
Yeah, we go out and go camping for 3 days, charge up before we start on the trail, go out for 3 days, cook, wheel, have lights on at night that we can power lights and everything.
Yeah.
And come back, charge at the end of the day. Sometimes, like, I'll be up in Tahoe National Forest and I'll have enough energy to drive out all the way down to Sacramento before I have to charge again.
Wow.
Now, that's also because I'm going downhill.
Sure.
And with regenerative braking, you get power back as you're going downhill.
Let's elaborate on that a little bit. So there is regen, as it's referred to. So as you're going downhill, those motors act as a generator now and put power back into the battery.
Yep.
And so, but it also acts as compression braking as we know it in the combustion world, on a down slope, low gearing, and you got your engine that's giving
engine braking,
resistance and compression braking. That's a very cool thing. But you have that same thing, but it's electric, and you're making some money on the back end. You're making power.
Yeah. Making miles.
You're making
miles. Making miles.
Making miles. Exactly. Which is pretty cool. So super versatile. We just heard about some crazy stuff that I didn't even know about with all this camp mode and stuff. Back to four-wheeling and off-roading. So these rigs are independent suspension, all four corners?
All four corners.
All four corners, independent. All of the rigs today were four motors, so one motor at each wheel. And underneath is like one big skid plate. I mean, it's like flat. There's no transfer case hanging down. There's no differentials hanging down, which is huge advantageous off-road.
Yeah.
But the tricky part is, and what we were playing with today, is different modes for different obstacles because of wheel spin and trying to mimic a locker situation, or like, you get a wheel up in the air and obviously it has zero resistance and it's spinning, and then you got, three other wheels on the ground that have great traction, and that's what's getting dialed in right now with this that I saw today. Want to talk about that and the different modes and stuff and how you can kind of mitigate that?
Yeah, the software is still evolving.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing about the Rivian is it's got different modes for different things. So on the pavement, you've got a sport mode that lowers the suspension and gives you more instantaneous torque.
So that's one thing. Let's unpackage this thing. So you have three different ride heights that you can choose from.
Five different ride heights.
Five different ride heights by a push of a button.
Yes, sir. Lowest, low, standard, high,
so
and
talk
highest.
about what are we talking, like an inch? Is this thing raising 20 feet?
So
What's it doing?
at our lowest, we're at 9.5 inches of clearance.
Okay.
And then at our highest, we're at 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's quite a difference. And lowest looks like I'm a low rider. The tires are tucked into the fenders.
Okay.
Looks like I'm a slammed pickup truck.
Okay.
And highest, it looks like I got a 4-inch lift kit.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And what you were talking about today, CJ, was like trying obstacles that were challenging where you needed tire clearance stuff and you needed clearance on their vehicles to put it at the high setting. So there's one more setting above that, the highest setting. So, and that was your kind of, your reasoning behind that was like, if you start scraping, hanging up, you can hit the highest setting and lift this thing up another 1.4 inches.
You got it, Jason.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. I was listening today. Yeah. Gold star. 1.4 inches, which is a lot in the off-road arena. It's a game of inches. And then that would give you the clearance to go over this obstacle. I mean, this is stuff that's just mind-blowing to us old-school rock crawlers. Okay, so you got the ride height. What else we got? We got all these different driving modes.
So you got regen settings, right?
Okay.
So a lot of people getting used to one-pedal driving, or the ability of like, hey, I get off the accelerator, the vehicle starts slowing down, like a diesel truck on the exhaust brake, or like a stick shift without pulling the clutch out. That mode has a low, standard, and high regen. Not all options are available in all modes, but that's the idea. So in the snow, we don't want to initiate a skid or brake a lot.
Right.
We want to be able to coast. So snow mode in the Rivian has a low regen mode, which is a nice, good safety feature. And
that might have been really useful on Truck Hill coming down today, right? Because
that's a good point.
when you pull your foot off the accelerator to try and slow down, you start regenning and your wheels start slipping because you're on a pretty good incline on Truck Hill.
That was 28 degrees today.
Yeah.
We were on Truck Hill.
Yeah. So that may have been the mode to be in. A lot of us were not in that mode, and we had to modulate with the brake pedal and everything, and try and keep from having our wheels skid, because it's a heavy vehicle. You know, that 135 kilowatt hour battery pack makes a vehicle a 7,000
pounds.
Yeah,
From the factory. Once you
From the
load them up
factory.
with gear, as we all know in our off-road world, we like to
all the accessories.
upgrade, and so they're about 8,000 pounds
You know, the
loaded up.
induction stove and stuff like that.
spare tire,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Okay. All right. So you got that, the regen. But then you got like different modes, like sand mode. You got snow mode you just talked about. You've got all-terrain mode.
Rock crawl mode, rally mode,
Ooh.
And drift mode.
and drift mode.
Ooh. What's
Drift
the
mode. Drift mode lets you break free the rear end. It turns the stability off. So when you're driving 835 horsepower, 908, foot-pounds of torque, if you just push on the pedal, you're going to start spinning your wheels.
Sure.
So what Rivian has done in their software is they've made it so that they've got lots of stability. So if any wheel starts to spin, it will send power to the other wheels.
Got it.
Right? And so when you're in the sport mode, you can take corners really fast and really jump on it.
Okay.
And not get squirrely at all. It's
Wow.
crazy.
Wow.
It also helps that they use the McLaren suspension team to build the suspension.
Oh,
So
no
we don't
kidding.
have,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we don't have any
sway bars.
sway bars, right? So ours is a hydraulic system, and so as you load up one corner, it sends fluid
Sure.
and it equalizes the pressure. So when you go through corners quickly, you stay completely flat. There's no body roll at all.
Right.
But with that, then you've also got this computer controlling. If you're on your high stability, it controls the power going to each wheel, and it's hard to get squirrely in it. But you put it in drift mode, and it lets you get squirrely.
It rip.
Lets you start to slide. It does catch and does pull it back in, so it makes you look like a better driver than you are.
It's a little bit creepy. If you're a good skilled driver, like the car's doing things I don't want it to do because I'm actually trying to do it myself, and it's doing it for me. But it's also really impressive. So rally and drift mode are both high speed modes. I did rally mode on a nice fire road in Mexico where it was safe, right? And took a 90-degree sweeper
And it's a 100% legal in Mexico.
at 55 plus miles an hour, and I just jerked it hard passenger on an open fire road going 55 miles an hour, thinking I'm going to get into a big time sideways drift.
Okay.
And I'm going to have to counter steer.
Nope.
And I jerked it in rally mode, initiated the kind of the power slide, and it started counter steering for me via
No
torque vectoring. I
kidding.
went to turn the wheel and I didn't need to. It was already keeping me in a nice like
Oh
20
my
degree
gosh.
power
Yeah,
slide.
it's incredible. It's really impressive.
So let's go to rock crawling mode because I like to rock crawl.
Yes,
and we did
sir.
some stuff in rock crawling mode today. So what does that do for the vehicle? What's it telling it to do?
So all of the different modes actually remap the accelerator pedal.
Okay.
So in rock crawl, you can go 0 to 20 miles an hour
Got it.
with a full press of the pedal.
Okay.
So it limits the amount of speed that you're going to get out of it. It doesn't limit the torque or anything like
Okay.
that. But your pedal becomes a lot more. The same distance gives you a lot finer control, right?
Okay,
And
got it.
Which is what you want in rock crawl because you want to slowly move up things. You want to crawl up whatever rock you're going on, and so it gives you a lot more control in that way.
And then it also is quicker to sense when a tire has low resistance up in the air, right? To transfer the power to the other tires. that
Yeah,
are
and we
on.
saw that today because we did
resistance.
some things in rock crawl mode, and then other
Right.
people did it in sand mode. And in sand, you want to have your tires spinning,
Right, you wanna
right?
get
And so
up on top.
So that mode allows your wheels to spin,
Got it.
and not get derated essentially, so that you're sending power to the wheels that aren't
Sure,
spinning.
sure. Okay. That's cool. So, and then what was cool to learn, because what we do is 2-foot driving a lot, rock crawling, if you have an automatic. And that's what you were promoting today in the Rivians as well. You can still 2-foot drive, 4-wheel disc brake, like a I mean, it's got to be like a normal braking system, right? There was disc and calipers, and
I think they're Brembo brakes too.
and they're Brembo brakes.
There's 6 piston in the front.
6 piston in the front, yeah. So you got some serious braking power.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting because on your screen, your diagnostics screen for motors, you got motor temps to monitor. And like we were going up one obstacle today, and I was riding with Gene, and the temps were coming up, and we actually got into the red zone a little bit. And you were saying, hey, don't use your brakes as much on this obstacle because you are creating a lot of heat. But there's this internal cooling system that cools the motors. So let's talk about that a little bit because that's pretty intriguing.
It was pretty cool. Gene stopped her, and you guys sat there and watched.
It literally to cool the motors from what they were like 308. They were just above 300, and they cooled down to 260, 240 within 2 minutes, I'd say. And maybe that's a little too long that I'm exaggerating.
I think it was less.
It was very quick. I was impressed at how cool. And then you go, oh no, the cooling system cools these things down. I'm thinking it's just air cooled, right? Like it's just dissipating heat. No, that's not the case.
No, I think it's part of there's an extensive air conditioning system in the Rivian to run air conditioning for the cabin, but that also pumps coolant through the battery, and I think it's also used to cool the motors, if I'm not mistaken. So you have inverters and other things. There's a lot of systems on the Rivian.
Sure.
Just like an internal combustion engine has a radiator and a transmission cooler and other things to run power steering cooler.
Sure.
So the Rivian's got a complex cooling system as well to keep its different components at the optimal
operating temperature.
Like an Optima battery.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, so keeping with the theme, so we got rock crawl mode, the sand mode we talked about rally and drift mode. What else? You got snow mode that you talked about.
All-terrain mode, which is just all-purpose, but for like a dirt fire road or hanging out.
Okay.
Now, one of my favorite things to do is, fire roads are fun. You can bomb through Mojave and Death Valley and this and that. And all-terrain is okay. It's a all-purposey off-road mode, but it feels like it's a little stiff. We have independent suspension on all 4 corners. It should ride smooth. You pop it into rally, all that sway bar system gets way softer.
Oh,
and all of a sudden it rides way smoother. So I found I like rally mode on longer, bumpier roads.
Okay.
It's smoother than all-terrain. And it's true. It's not doing much for a power perspective. I'm not drifting, doing anything fancy, but I'm getting a smoother ride because it's changing the sway bar setup.
Sure.
And you can change the suspension ride from most of the modes. You can, and they just gave us the option to do firm and soft and moderate.
So in all-terrain mode, you could soften the suspension then?
You could.
Okay.
Most modes you can adjust the suspension stiffness. So if you like a sports car handling SUV, you can lower your car up, lower your car, put it in stiff, and go carve the mountain roads. And if you want to ride through the potholes of Highway 87, you put it in high mode, you stick it on soft, and you let your suspension soak up all the potholes that they have fixed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's really a multi-use vehicle.
Well,
Jason.
it is, and it's so being all like software based. I mean, the possibilities are endless to dial stuff in.
So here's a fun one for you.
Okay.
Soft mode was too soft. People complained that soft floated like a Cadillac, like an old
that's
80s.
I love an old.
I loved it. It felt like it just kind of meandered down the road with a nice
it's like a boat.
A boat, yeah.
It's like you're driving a couch.
Well, that was
down
too
the
soft
highway.
for folk. So a couple months later, over-the-air update. While I was sleeping, my car decided to update itself, and now we have a moderate mode for those people that didn't like soft.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Well, there you go.
Ask and you shall receive.
See,
if you're
there
a
you
Rivian owner.
go. And the community there.
Snow mode was another example
new
of
one?
that.
Okay.
It was an over-the-air software update, and like people were driving Rivians for the first time in snow, and they were noticing, hey, the regen kicks in. And it starts to skid.
Puts you into a skid.
Starts to put you in a skid. And so Rivian reacted fairly quickly to the community saying, hey, we need to change this. And they came up with an over-the-air update. And all of a sudden snow mode
So
appeared.
yeah, so that's what I've learned is the Rivian execs or whatever. I mean, they're looking for the community input, like user input, like, hey, this is working great, or like, hey, we need to do something about this, and they seem to be pretty responsive. How many Rivians have been produced? Do you know that number or ballpark?
So we passed 100,000 at the end of last year, I think.
100,000. Okay.
Yeah, their plant in Normal is set to make about 50,000 a year or something like that. I think this floor space gives you that.
Wow.
They're starting a new plant in Georgia that's going to do 150,000 vehicles a year. So they're going to triple their production essentially with that new plant coming on.
And that comes with a little mini moonshine machine in the back of the bed.
In Georgia? Yeah.
In Georgia, yeah.
There's actually a hidden compartment for the bootleggers. That's where the spare tire normally goes, but
Instead of a gear tunnel, you have a hooch tunnel.
Perfect. Okay, so those are some of the different modes. What else? There was a lot on that screen. That screen's pretty busy with all the settings.
So we've got tilt and incline.
Yeah.
And we can see that right there on the screen. So that was one of the things that we did today. We went and looked at kind of being off camber and how far we can get over, because our and we talked about this a little bit, our center of gravity is so low because the battery is the very bottom of the truck, right? You're between all four wheels, you're very balanced. You can get over on a pretty steep angle on this truck.
Yeah, we did a little obstacle today that was 26. And then 25, it's like turning orange, like, hey, caution, Will Robinson, we're going to roll over. Well, no. And so realistically, we were saying, like 40 degrees is still pretty
I think this
comfortable?
thing could easily be over 50 degrees.
Okay,
you think
well,
about
there you
people
go.
that drive on two wheels and the angle
Very
that those
low
vehicles
center
are
of
at,
gravity.
and this vehicle's got a lower center of gravity.
And that's stock. That's not with a tin on top and, your hot tub on top and all that other stuff that you guys got. But
shoot, if my lifted Jeep can do 46 degrees, I think the Rivian can do more.
Right. Okay. So that's cool.
A fun one for me is that it keeps track of your elevation that you've ever been to. So it knows your elevation, and it tracks your highest and lowest, which is kind of fun. If you like adventuring and going to Death Valley and then up to Bristlecone Pines, you could do almost 12,000 feet delta in the state of California.
Mm-hmm. California is diverse and great for stuff like that. Go at the ocean. You could surf in the morning or ski in the morning and surf in the afternoon. Play your cards right.
Something that we haven't used, we all aired down while we're here, right? Because airing down is good for the trails,
Absolutely.
It's good for the vehicle. But we also have an onboard compressor.
Okay.
And you can set it to whatever pressure you want and walk away, and it'll do one tire at a time, which isn't bad.
Right.
So, but that comes standard on all the R1Ts and R1Ss.
Yeah. And that was the other thing that kind of blew me away today, because normally when we're teaching the safety clinic, we're airing people down to like 20 and below.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys, like the lowest in this group, I think was 24. And most people were in the 30s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the manual, it says to go down to 31 if you got 20-inch wheels. But we know people go lower.
Yeah.
And the OEM tire is a Pirelli tire, but some of us are starting to run like KO3s and Yokohamas and kind of using other all-terrain tires that have different ranges for them.
Sure.
When we're running on the road, we're 48 to 52 PSI. So
higher pressure. It's what's the rim size?
It's a 20-inch,
so
21
it is
or
a 20-inch
22
wheel. Yeah.
So it's a big wheel. There's not a lot of sidewall there. So that's one reason you can't go down as much.
6-piston caliper takes a lot of room.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It's a good size rotor and caliper there, yes. Okay. Well, that was interesting. Let's see. What else was I seeing?
I think a fun fact, we hear a lot about you can't tow with an E.V.E. And people aren't wrong in terms of you can't tow far with an E.V.E. But that R1T has an 11,000-pound tow rating.
Okay.
That's pretty good for any half-ton truck these days, right? It's an 11,000-pound tow rating, and it tows really well. Long wheelbase, stable, adjustable air suspension, so it handles the tongue weight quite well. It has an integrated brake controller. You can dial it in. It keeps track of up to 3 trailers that you tow. As
Three different trailers, not all at one time.
Not all at once. You wouldn't want to do that.
You're not doing.
That'd be make for a good commercial, though.
Yeah, you're not pulling triples
like a space shuttle. You could tow that, like that Toyota commercial, and it remembers the weight of that trailer. It actually senses the acceleration and it calculates the weight of the trailer you're towing. And then it manages and tracks the efficiency, so they can start better calculating how far you can go towing that specific trailer over time. I've found that really useful when I'm moving my car hauler around and stuff, that it's actually learning, where I need to stop next and giving me suggestions.
Okay.
Yeah, I spent a day with a film crew, and my truck was the drag truck.
Okay.
So we put a car on a car hauler, put a bunch of cameras on the car. The actors were in the car, and we pulled the car through Petaluma back and forth all day long, and there wasn't any doubt in my mind. We're not going far. We're going a couple of miles at a time, and we're going 10, 15, 20 miles an hour. I barely used any energy that day, right? If you're going slow, there's no aerodynamic drag. That's where you get the big hit with EVs. And so, if I'm hauling a big trailer, hauling it at 55 is way different than trying to haul it at 85.
Sure.
Because you square the velocity.
It's true with gas too.
It's true with gas.
I see it. Yeah. I see it in my truck. If I haul at 55, 60, it's like I get a couple more miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
Than when I'm hauling it.
Yeah, and we only got 4 gallons
65
in our
plus.
tank.
Only in Nevada, though. I only drive that speed. So let's talk about range, because I know that's a big question that comes up, and it's like, oh, you got 100% electric. How far can you go? You leave your house with 100% charge. Now, granted, it's based on, are you climbing up hills? Are you going down hills?
How fast
all that
are you
stuff. But
going,
let's
all
just
that good
say
stuff.
an average, drive. What's like your comfortable range?
So when I had 21s on my truck, when I first got it, I had the 21s. They have a road tire. I would charge up to 100% at my house in San Francisco, have 2 kayaks on the top, have it loaded with my dog kennel, all the camping gear for a week's worth of camping, my kid, my partner.
So you're loaded down.
I'm loaded. Every place that I can cram stuff got stuff crammed in it.
Wait, can you put stuff under the hood, Arn?
Yeah. There's no engine there.
Oh,
so I have a front trunk.
Yeah, front trunk.
And not only that, but my front trunk has a little valve in it, a one-way valve that'll let water out. So if you wanted to fill it with ice, you could fill it with ice.
You could do this.
Tailgating becomes a frunk gating.
Oh my god!
But you also have the spare tire well, and it also has the ability to let water out. So you have 2 large ice containers that you can tailgate from.
It's a good party vehicle.
It sounds like it. You can mix
And
margaritas too.
You can mix margaritas, and you can plug in your sound system.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Party doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So
disco ball.
You could do a disco ball.
Damn.
Yeah, we got LED lights.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so
charge up to 100%, fully loaded. I drove all the way up to Truckee.
From San Francisco. Loaded.
Now, I did hit traffic because you can't not hit traffic going through.
You can't hit,
right?
not hit traffic coming out of the Bay Area.
That is not 300 miles, but it is up the Sierras.
Right.
And so once you get to the top of Donner Pass, if you got 1 or 2%, by the time you get down to the bottom of Donner Pass, you've got, 4 or 5 or 6%. So you can get to the charger because there's a bunch of chargers in Donner, in Truckee now.
Okay, so that's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, I can drive from my place in San Jose to my parents' cabin in the Sierras, right near our doppel trail that we do, Jason.
Highway 4.
And I can go all the way there without stopping, without blinking an eye. And then on the way home, I only use up 50% of my range because it's all downhill.
Yeah.
So it's a heck of an economic way to get to the cabin and back.
And just this last weekend, I drove up to Portland.
Yeah.
Right. And so let's talk about range and all of that stuff.
And charging.
And so most of the time when I'm stopping, I'm not charging up to 100%. Right. As you start to fill your battery more and more, you have to kind of think about electrons are filling holes.
Right.
And it's harder and harder as there's less and less holes to find those holes.
Yeah, because I heard when you get to 80%, then that last 20% takes longer.
It takes a long time.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
So it's like you get
up to 60%, and then all of a sudden you're you've lost 50 kilowatts that you're pumping in.
It's like a third slower.
It's like a third
60,
slower.
70,
Yeah. So it's like pumping up a tire. As the pressure gets higher,
Exactly.
It takes longer.
It takes more pressure,
Absolutely.
longer to get to your.
So
higher
what you
PSI.
do on road trips is
How about that for an analogy?
That's good. I
That's
like the
great.
cell
I
phone
like it.
analogy, right? Everyone's used to charging their cell phone. If it's really low, it charges pretty quick. Pretty
Yeah.
quickly, they're at 50%.
Yeah.
But that 50 to 100
That
takes a while.
last bit,
Yeah.
especially if you got an iPhone and it don't want to charge all the way or whatever. Anyways, go on.
But so the technique is not to charge to 100%.
Okay.
It's to charge up to about 60, 65%.
Wow.
And then you make another stop. So charge up to 85% at my house because it's overnight and it's a
Got it.
low level charger. Drive to Dunnigan from my house in San
Yep.
Francisco. And so that's up the 505,
Yep.
right where the 505 meets the 5. And so that's a pretty good distance that you're getting out of town. Then I charge for 15 minutes.
Okay.
And, I've got my son with me and
15 minutes
we
isn't
stop
that
at
long.
like Taco Bell or
Yeah.
Starbucks. And by the time we get back to the truck, it's all done.
Wow.
And then we go to the next one. And the next one is, Anderson or Red Bluff or,
Yep.
Reading. And to do that same thing again, you're charging for about 15 minutes. So it's a little bit slower, right? If you have a big gas tank.
Overall, yeah.
my-
I
my
got
s-
48 gallons on my big old F350.
Yeah, my old 71 Jimmy
Yeah.
had a 40-gallon tank
Sure.
in it,
So
right?
you can
So
go-
you could
you can
go,
go for a
all the way
long-
across Nevada
Yeah.
at 10
Yep.
miles a
Yep.
gallon.
Mhm.
But so you have to, your cadence is a little bit different, but it's nice. It's really nice because by about that time, it's 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's about 2 hours. And
Get
so
out,
every
stretch
2 hours,
legs.
I get out, stretch my legs.
Cup of coffee, Jamba Juice,
Yep,
whatever.
And it's kind of a nice way to see
Sure.
the country.
Sure.
Right. And you can, and now they just opened up not just the Rivian Adventure Network, our fast chargers, but now we have access to the Tesla supercharging network, which means that there are 100,000 more charging stations. It's just,
Maybe
it's
chargers, yeah.
Chargers.
About 30% of the Tesla network, I think, roughly, don't quote me on that, is available to us now.
yeah.
So yeah, there's not a standard plug out there right now, right?
Well,
There's two.
There are two. So we're kind of in the Betamax
Okay.
and VHS era.
Okay.
And we're just now closing in on the VHS being the winner.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So Tesla's plug is a little bit sleeker. It's a little bit easier to handle.
Okay.
And it is the plug that is winning out.
Okay.
Ford has adopted it.
Volvo,
Volvo,
Chevy, you name it.
Rivian. So
Okay.
all the new Rivians are going to have the
Okay.
North American charging standard, which is the plug that Tesla developed.
Got it.
Those of us that have the CCS, which is the other style, and there was a third style that Leafs use, the Chatamo,
Oh.
but that's kind of going away. CCS is going to be going away, but we have an adapter, so we can plug the Tesla
Sure.
charger into this adapter that then plugs into our CCS.
So do you get some shade when you pull up to a Tesla charger and you're surrounded by Teslas?
No, they're all
like,
watching their screens.
Okay. So there's no
Most of us in the Rivians get out and we talk to each other.
Okay.
And
So it's
but
not
we
like
get a lot of Tesla guys that are totally interested.
right? Okay. So I'm wondering, I just like a Jeep and Toyota thing. Like we're like, we all get along, but we really don't like each other. So I was
If
wondering
anyone
if
owns a
there's
Tesla-
like a Tesla Rivian thing or
There's one thing I'll throw at the Tesla owners right now. I'll
Okay.
throw some shade at you.
Okay.
Because we like controversy.
yeah. It's what we do on this podcast.
You may or may not have someone that listens to your podcast, Jason, that drives a Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe their partner drives a Tesla, their kid drives a Tesla.
I know a lot of people that drive Teslas.
Ask them to drive two-footed in their Tesla. See how that goes.
Oh, really?
The Tesla won't let you drive two-footed.
Oh, it's a big no-no.
So Rivian, yeah,
Okay.
allows you to drive two-footed. Now maybe the Cybertruck lets you, so I shouldn't be throwing too much shade at the Teslas, but the Tesla sedans will not let you touch
Yeah.
that brake pedal for a second while you're pressing the accelerator.
Okay. All right.
There's my shade.
Okay.
Except for when you do the launch in it, right?
Launch mode.
then you press the brake
Yeah.
and the accelerator, and then you let off the brake, and it'll take off.
Yeah.
So
one
what I'm
direction.
hearing is you got pretty damn good range, all things considered, and when you do stop to charge, it's better to do a 15-20 minute, just get it up to 65 to 80% and go on about your journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So it's not, because honestly, well, if I'm empty in the truck, it's going to take at least 12 minutes to put in, 40 gallons of fuel, right?
That's true.
And you're running in, using the bathroom, grabbing one of those hot dogs that have been rolling around for 4 days
decade.
on the deal or something. No, I don't eat those things, but whatever.
You gotta find the stops that have Cinnabons, Jason.
Yo,
You're missing out at the
Cinnabon's a good stop. Cinnabon at the truck stop is pretty damn good. No, but anyways, you grab your chips and your soft drink or whatever, and head back out. But yeah, so that's reasonable, because I know a lot of people are envisioning that don't know, right? They don't know what they don't know. Envisioning like, oh, you're there for an hour, trying to throw frickin', some power back into your rig. So
yeah, so I couldn't afford a Tesla when I first started driving electric. So I bought a Chevy Spark.
Okay.
Tiny little car, perfect for the city.
So that was your intro into
That was my
EV.
intro to EV.
Okay.
20 kilowatt hour battery. It's a tiny battery. I get about 80 miles to a charge.
Okay.
But I drive up to Auburn all the time. Had a DC fast charger. It would take 20 minutes to fill it from 0 to 100%.
Wow.
And there was no limit on it. So you could do 0 to 100.
Okay.
You walk away for 15, 20 minutes and you come back and your car's completely filled. Right. But you're only going 80 miles. Yeah. So you're stopping a lot along the way. So there was 3 stops up to Auburn, essentially. But I did that drive a whole bunch. I got 150,000 miles on that car.
Wow.
And so I've got 56,000 miles on the Rivian in 2 years.
Okay.
So I do a lot of driving. And I've been to LA, I've been to Washington, I've been out to Colorado,
Oregon,
I just did Oregon, right? So I don't find it's prohibitive. Yeah, I get 300 miles, 310 miles on when I do conserve modes, which means I just run my front 2 motors.
Right.
But,
okay.
So I can get over 300 miles with that. If I run all 4 motors all the time, I'll get somewhere near 300. And if I'm in sport mode, I'll get something less, like 270 or something like that, right? But I don't find it prohibitive at all for traveling. Went down to Johnson Valley, went to King of the Hammers this last year, tooled around. They actually dragged 3 fast chargers out there. They had hydrogen powered.
Yeah, I wanted to talk
fuel
about that
cells.
event. So let's talk about that event a little bit.
It was fantastic. It was, out.
So how many vehicles were there? Because it wasn't just Rivians; it was all EVs. There was some.
What do you say, Arn? Maybe 50, 60
trucks there.
We probably had
Tesla
60.
trucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
we
had like 3 Cybertrucks and a couple of Teslas that had been outfitted.
A couple Tesla kind of small lift kits, a couple Kias.
A couple of Lightnings.
Lightning or 2.
Yeah, Ford Lightning.
Yep.
Yeah, I went down to the 40 that day and saw you guys were in it. They had a big tent there and looked like a pretty highfalutin event.
Optima hosted
Optima
us.
really did a great job hosting us. They had concerts. They had a drift track. They had little drift scooters that they would race on at night, and
bathrooms and showers.
Showers. It was great. And then you could charge, and they would charge for free.
Yeah.
You just roll up after coming back from an afternoon, you charge for 15 minutes, get some lunch, and go back out.
You guys did a trail ride.
We did
a couple trail rides, one each day, and got to go explore all the washes and the valleys and check out some of the lookouts, and went up to the overlanding experience there up in the middle of
out there by Pit 1.
Tent City.
Well, not Pit. It was Pit 2. Pit 1?
On the way to Pit 2, yeah.
On the way to Pit 2.
Yeah, and they had 3 DC fast chargers, a bunch of level 2, which is something we charge. That's overnight charging for those listening to the podcast. You plug into your garage for the night. That's the kind of speed you're talking. And they're all powered off of a big old generator.
Yeah.
But that generator was hydrogen powered.
It wasn't diesel powered.
It wasn't diesel
powered.
Hydrogen.
A diesel semi-truck towed the hydrogen tank out there. Let's be honest and fair.
Yeah.
But all that thing emitted was water.
It was water.
It was stunning.
I got to drive when I was in the golf industry and went to Toro factory. They developed a hydrogen mower. And this was 18 years ago now.
Yep.
But Yeah, all that came out the tailpipe was water, and that was super cool. Super cool. But anyways, okay, yeah, so and this is crazy. I mean, this is happening at, redneck frickin' Burning Man, King of the Hammers down in the desert with a lot of big engines on that lake bed that week. Both race cars racing and, recreational wheelers and everything going on. 80,000 people. And then you guys were like out there in the mix, right? And that was super cool. And it was like, and it wasn't just a few of you, it was 80 plus of you. And it was like, I mean, people knew there was electric rigs on there. And so my point is the evolution, right? It's like Dave Cole's been talking about it. We've had, Test 10 on here, Keith and Melissa talking about their journey of converting over their race truck to 100% electric. And it's just cool. And then E.V.E, we've had Kyle on here and Will Speck talking about all that stuff. So it's like, it's going that way, whether you like it or not.
Someday I'll talk to you about my Jeep that I'm converting.
Yeah, you got a Willys you're working on. But yeah, anyways, it's cool to see that component at KOH because it's like all things off road. Right. KOH is all things off road.
Yeah,
and it's cool.
And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Driving through Hammertown. We had a couple of people waving extension cords at us.
That sounds about right.
It was fun, but then when we're out on the trail, you run into a couple of guys wheeling in square bodies or whatever, and they're like,
they're intrigued.
Are you guys giving rides?
Yeah, they're intrigued.
They want to do a demo drive.
Right.
They want to go out and see what this is all about because they see us being able to do the stuff that they're doing, and they're interested. When you're talking to somebody that really loves motorsports and you say 835
the numbers
horsepower,
you can't argue.
Like,
I mean, and that's it. If you're a gearhead, a true gearhead, and it is intriguing. It's like, okay, instant torque, there's a lot of benefits. I mean, it's
well, and here's the thing, right? We went out and we did all these obstacles today, right? We did frame twister, stair steps, and we did
the
ravine, little off camber. We did the truck hill.
That's
right?
28 degrees. Yeah.
Then I go and I pump my tires up, and I go on the road, and I can go 0 to 60 in 3 seconds.
Sure.
And I can go around corners like a madman.
It'll corner.
I think
great.
It limits you to 112 miles per hour because that's what the wheels are rated for.
Okay.
But going up to 100 miles an hour is a shot.
Can happen quick.
It happens quick.
Yeah.
I think the best example of this is the same Rivian that raced the Mint 400 this past year is the same Rivian that also raced Pikes Peak on pavement.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
All they did was swap out the wheel and tire package.
Okay. Yeah.
Same race truck.
And there's a video of a buddy of ours, Robert Powell, in his Rivian on 20s on a racetrack down in Texas with an electric race car driver driving it, chasing a Porsche around the track.
Yeah.
It can go around the corners just as fast, and it can keep up with the acceleration just as fast.
Yeah, it is.
And that's the same truck he took to the King of the Hammers.
Wow.
Right? He didn't change the wheels. He didn't change anything.
Sure.
He had to fix a couple of things. He drives hard.
Yeah, it's the versatility because instead of swapping out, transmissions or gears or something, you guys are just flipping a few push buttons on a touchscreen, remapping the machine, whatever, the computer, the ones and zeros, getting changed around to do different things. And that's the really cool aspect of it. So what's, this is growing, right? So you're the president of all these different, individual associations, and we've got SoCal represented here. We've got, my area of Truckee, Tahoe region, Reno, the Sierra Nevadas. We've got Oregon.
Got some
Oregon's
Central
here.
Oregon.
Central Oregon.
We got Oregon
Bay Area.
represented here, and
Bay
of course
Area.
Bay Area. Pretty cool. So the West Coast is pretty well represented here today. So, how fast is this growing? What are you seeing as president? This it's fairly new. It's fairly new.
Yeah, I mean, I got my truck, which was 5,000 and something off the line in May of 2022.
Wow.
Right, and now we are over 100,000 vehicles that are out there, and we've got a whole bunch of people that have joined up and come out and do in real life kind of events that we do. We do cars and coffees, we do Electrify Expo, we do camping trips, and we routinely get 20, 30, 60 people out for these events.
Wow.
And we've got almost 30 clubs around the nation right now.
Okay, 30 clubs.
We've got one that's actually joined from the Dominican Republic.
No kidding.
Yeah, and then
that's
there's
cool.
We're talking to some people up in Canada because there's Canadians that now have the Rivians.
Hey.
And
they run on maple syrup. Had to throw that in there.
And
my friends in Canada.
Yeah, so we've got Portland, Central Oregon, Bay Area, Sierra Nevada, LA, San Gabriel Valley, Orange County, San Diego, Coachella Valley, Las Vegas, Arizona's got a club. We've got clubs in Florida. We've got clubs in Denver and the Rocky Mountain region.
Wow, yeah.
We've got clubs in Chicago. These trucks, right? So here's another fact about these trucks. They're made in the United States.
Yeah.
Their plant is in Normal, Illinois.
Yeah.
They're an American-made product. The CEO, R.J. Scringe, he's an American kid that grew up, went to MIT, learned how to make big manufacturing automobile plants, and made his dream come true.
Wow.
Right? And so, like, there's a lot of overlap with the people that are at KOH. Right?
Got it. The flags are flying out there. American
absolutely.
pride. And that's awesome.
And this is a brand new American automaker.
Sure.
And they've done a fantastic job.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. I know I've driven some Teslas. I got to drive CJ's Rivian when he got it, and I was just impressed at how refined it was. And not dissing on Teslas, but it was just, I don't know. It was kind of gimmicky, and it was okay, but it just seemed like the Rivians were more refined. Just a better built product.
It feels tight, and it's arguably, I mean, I enjoy driving different types of vehicles. I think we're both gearheads and enjoy what different vehicles give us from an experience perspective.
Right.
But the Rivian, hands down, is a joy to drive. It's a driver's vehicle, even though it's an EV, which I think people don't understand that can be a thing. And it's the best car I've ever owned.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
it's a great family mobile. We go skiing, we put the canoe on the roof, we can tow a trailer, we can go on a weekend adventure trip, we can go to the mall, we can load up Costco and fill up the front and the trunk and the hidden compartments, and you name it, it just does it all.
Yeah, we have a powered tonneau. So I live in the city, right? And the city is known for broken windshields and glass all over the place because people are stealing stuff out of cars. I've got lockable storage in the entire bed, the gear tunnel, and the front trunk.
Yeah.
And so I've got a ton of things in my truck that nobody sees.
Out of sight.
Out of sight.
You can't look
and
in
you can't
see
get
any
to
of
them.
that.
And you can't get to them.
Yeah.
There's a video out of a couple of people that were out camping and locked their keys in their Rivian, so they were trying to break into their own Rivian. They were using a cast iron skillet, the handle of a cast iron skillet, and they're beating on their driver's side window, and it's just bouncing off.
Really? Wow.
There's a video from early on when they just came out of a couple of young women trying to break into one. And they're using one of those little hammers, and they're
the
like
glass break hammer.
So our Rivian records people that come around.
Sure,
right? We have this Gear Guard video system that records things like this, and they were trying to break in for half an hour, and they finally gave up. They finally gave up.
Wow.
We've got 2 panes of glass, right? As part of when you ride in them and you close the windows,
They're quiet.
they're really
super
quiet. And part of that is because they put these 2 pieces of glass in there and they dampen the sound coming in a lot of ways that, high-end vehicles do, but we don't have the motor noise.
Well, that was one thing we were talking about today because we emphasized on guiding and the guide and the driver being in direct communication. And that was a great point that you brought up. It's like, hey, we got no engine noise. There's some fan noise. It was hot today and the cooling system was like coming on, but
it's not as loud as CJ's.
You don't have a V8 idling, in the background trying to talk over or accelerating, trying to get over an obstacle or something. And that's another cool feature is like, they're damn near silent. It's just quiet. I can
hear birds singing while I'm driving. Right. It's almost a surreal experience if you've ever owned a vehicle. Like I've had motorcycles that had loud pipes, and I've had trucks that have had loud pipes, and cars, and you get in this thing and you're driving down the road, and all of a sudden you hear tweet, 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 and it's just incredible.
I mean, there's no replacement for displacement. I like my exhaust notes, but it is nice. It is nice in those instances where you are out in nature,
But see, I can enjoy your exhaust notes too.
Yeah, right? Right? Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not droned out by my own.
Exactly. So, but it is another aspect of the EV world. Okay, so what else am I missing here? Because we covered a lot of ground here. Anything you can think of, CG, that we need to
I would love
discuss?
I would love listeners that have sway in the off-road industry. I know there's a lot of people that listen to this podcast. I'm waiting for my 74 weld portals for my Rivian. Okay?
Why do you need that, though? You got quite a bit of clearance right now.
think if I want to put 37s on it, or 40s.
Yeah,
and
so what is the
and
max tire size you can realistically put on?
So the largest tire size that fits in the well with all the suspension and everything are 34-inch tires.
Okay.
It comes
Not
factory
bad.
with 34s.
It comes factory with 34s.
People are putting 35s with some little spacers and stuff. But if I wanted to have a lot bigger track width, a little more ground clearance, have the gear reduction.
You want some?
I want some 40s.
You want some 40s.
And if I want to maybe compete in the E.V.E class at King of the Hammers,
okay,
4 corners of portals might help that.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got a little in with 74 weld, and I'll put in a good word for you.
Thanks, Jason. I appreciate it. I rely on Wheeling Wine and Whiskey to make these things happen.
Absolutely. We are the number one innovative, make things happen podcast out there. We give till it hurts, CJ.
You do.
We do give till it hurts. That's cool. All right, Arn, you got anything else to add here that we didn't cover, or something more to highlight?
If you're interested at all in coming out and seeing a Rivian, come and check out our events page, rivianclubs.org.
There you go.
You can see pictures of events. You can find a local chapter, see if there's people near you. You can reach out and contact us. We just started a membership drive, and so if you've got a Rivian and you want to join a club, look on there and sign up.
Perfect.
And I'll quickly throw out Rivian Clubs of America is partnering with Tread Lightly. We talk about Tread Lightly a lot.
Big part of it.
You guys talk about that a lot, and you become a member of Tread Lightly by joining RCA, and it's a mutually beneficial relationship between the two organizations, and it's really cool to see that. Like, Rivian motto is Adventure Forever. How do you adventure forever? We take care of our trails. We keep giving ourselves the ability to adventure.
Sure.
And Rivian's taking that seriously, and so are the organizations working with Rivian.
Yeah.
We work really closely with Matt Gaskins, who's the executive director for Tread Lightly.
Yeah. Okay.
And we're putting on more and more events with them. We just did a couple, one in Arizona and one in Tennessee, and we've got a couple coming up in Florida. And so it's a really kind of a perfect union because of Tread Lightly's mission and what Rivian owners want from the world.
Sure.
And so it's a great partnership.
That's cool. Right on. Well, that's good. Well, yeah, thanks for carving time out of your schedule here this evening. And I mean, it was eye-opening for me today. I think we covered a lot of ground here on the podcast. Our listeners are, that may have had some inclinations or some ideas of what, EVs are all about, and especially, obviously, we're talking more Rivian aspect here, but there's some pretty eye-opening stuff going on that these vehicles are doing right now and can do in the future, that can't be ignored. You can say what you will with, your hardcore, it's got to have a V8 and da-da-da. Well, yeah, okay, great. But this is definitely, if you start taking the deep dive, there's definitely some features that is pretty freaking cool. Is it perfected? No. Is a regular freaking old CJ5 perfected? No. But, there's different ways to skin a cat, and this is the latest and greatest. And it's pretty damn cool and eye-opening if you really take a deep dive. So I think we kind of painted a pretty good picture here of what these vehicles are capable of and what they're about, and the community that you guys are building. It's pretty freaking cool. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thank you,
Likewise,
CJ.
Jason.
Welcome back to the podcast. It's been a while.
It's been a long while. Good to be back.
Good to be back.
I may or may not have been down for the count for a while, so it's good to be, good to be
it's
here.
good to have you here. Yeah, so, with that, we're out. I see your propeller hat going, Chris. You got excited over this one.
It's spinning. It's high speed. I have it on high. So
I have it on high.
I had to cool my brain off.
It is. There's a lot of info there. But like I say, it's intriguing, it's interesting. It's I'm definitely not running out and buying one, but for what I do, the buggy works extremely well. But the technology is getting there, and I noticed on the latest Crawl magazine that came out. I don't know if you get Crawl magazine.
No, I don't. I don't get any magazines actually.
Oh, you don't? I still like getting the Crawl and what's the other one? The one that
not For Low. Is it For Low?
Yeah, For Low.
For Low
With Big Rich.
Yeah.
I like those magazines because, it's fun flipping through them and actually sitting down and looking at pictures and reading articles that it's just like, I don't know, nostalgic. But Crawl's cool because they do a lot of cool, just random photos and stuff.
Well,
but
a lot of those rigs are pretty hardcore too.
On the cover, is the electric moon buggy.
Oh,
and, yeah,
I've heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And Wayne, what's his last name? Let me see. Oh, here it is. Mortensen. So he's here in Reno, and he built this all electric buggy here. So pretty cool. So it's coming. It's here. It's going to be the future.
Well, we've heard
like it or not.
We've heard it mentioned numerous times, and I know that when we briefly interviewed Shannon Campbell that one time at King of the Hammers,
he
4
was
years
ago.
Or he mentioned something about maybe an electric one. I don't know, but if anybody's going to do it, it would be, if anybody can do it, it'd be him for sure. I mean, the guy's fabricator on high, so. But yeah, there's a lot of hurdles, but seems like the battery packs are starting to come along, and obviously you have to make them safe, and that whole test 10 story. But I mean, it's just for everyday use. I mean, we see tons and tons and tons of Teslas, or at least I do down here in the Bay Area. They're a dime a dozen on the freeways now when I commute to and from work. They've certainly, I think they've hit critical mass. I'm not saying that it's what I want, but people are buying them, obviously.
No, exactly.
And people brag about how they're not buying gasoline and whatnot. And that's super cool. But at the same time, those are the people that own homes that can plug their cars into their garages or whatever and get cheap electricity at night. But obviously, the solution it's not a solution. An electric car isn't for everybody, because some people are apartment dwellers or big city people live in a city, and they don't have access to charging capabilities. You hear about. What did I read an article about some place down in San Diego or something where they were running extension cords across the sidewalk from their stack and pack houses to their cars, and people are tripping over extension cords because they don't have garages, right?
Yeah.
So, there's still a lot of hurdles to make it fully like the real deal, because those challenges exist for people that don't have homes or don't have driveways. So anyway, enough on that. But yeah, super cool episode. A lot of great talk. Hopefully it didn't burn too many people out. You see what I did there?
I see what you did there. So one thing that we did that didn't get talked about on the final day, we recorded this the night before we ended. We did, everybody wanted to test a regen scenario, like towing it around. So we towed one around, it was the SUV one, with a truck, towed him around, made like 3 laps around Area 5 in Hollister.
Uh-huh.
And I think he picked up 3 miles of range by doing that.
Really?
So pretty interesting, so and Keith talked about that. At King of the Hammers, they just wanted to get to pit 1, and they were towing it around to regen to put some power back into the batteries, right, so they could finish the race. So, but yeah, there's just it's a different ball of wax. There's driving principles that apply to every vehicle, but there's a lot of specialty stuff that when you start getting into these all electric vehicles and how they operate of different modes, and there's all kinds of settings and everything, and get them dialed in, and it was fun to learn with them and watch them perform. Going up Truck Hill, off camber creek bed, like I say, flex like a brick, wheels up in the air doing the Jeep wave every obstacle, but pretty cool. Yeah, and we got to get Keith back on to talk about what his next steps are and what he learned from that experience, and where that truck's going to end up, in the future. But yeah. The technology, they're on the bleeding edge, as you say, Chris, and they're,
right.
You've got that learning curve. You got to figure stuff out. And if you don't try, you're not going to learn, and you're not going to make it better. So, there it is.
Make your mark. Sweet. Okay, cool. Well, we just have a couple final notes before we wrap the show up. We got, I think, a couple episodes, or last episode, we mentioned the NorCal Stampede is coming up. The
Ultra 4.
Metal Cloak NorCal Stampede.
Coming to California.
That's right. And that's going to be on the weekend of June 28th and 29th up at Rancho Cordova at Prairie City.
This weekend.
That's right. This coming weekend, and Jason and I plan on being out there. I'm gonna be camping. I imagine you are too.
Yes.
Probably down by the obstacle
down
course.
By the river with the lamps.
Down by the river. That's right. So yeah, we'll be there. We're going to be trying to catch some interviews, and this is a big race. This is Ultra 4 hitting the West Coast in the summer, and I'm sure that we're going to see some big names out there.
Well, the Gomez's will be there. You got Shannon Campbell. This is big, and of course the usual NorCal suspects. Justin Hall, fucking Chucky. Jimmy Jack. I hope Jimmy Jack's going to be there.
Cody Addington.
They're usually there. But anyways, yeah. So a lot of the locals will be there, and mixed in with some of the big boys come out for this race, since it is an Ultra 4.
That's right.
Series race, points race. So, come on out. and even if it's just for the day, and look for us.
And bring plenty of water. Bring an easy up in a chair and sit back and enjoy some killer racing, man.
Yes.
These fun times.
Absolutely.
And the last thing to mention before we sign off is Sierra Trek. If you haven't signed up, you need to go to Cal 4 Wheel. Sierra Trek signups have been open, are open. And
have been open, yes.
The runs are filling up. If you want to go wheeling, whether it's a short river run or if you want to do the full trail through from Eagle Lakes, you got to sign up. So
yeah, just 6 weeks away.
That's right.
6 weeks away, Chris.
And build a whole city up at Summit City up there in Meadow Lake. And yeah, good times. So a little city up there with plenty of chow, and the bar is going to be ripping. And I don't know what else. Vendors, a lot of vendors.
Yes. And there's just something going on. I just like hanging out in camp on Saturday.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people I see once a year at the event, so it's fun to catch up with them. And I don't know, they're trying to talk me into doing the river run Saturday morning. We'll see.
You get voluntold again?
Yeah, no, I'm not getting voluntold again. I'm trying to take this year off, but we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, good stuff. Great event. If you've never been, you need to go. If you have been, then you know how cool it is.
Yep. So go to cal4wheel.com, I think is the website, or cal4wheel.
Is it .com or .org?
I think it's both. I'm not sure. I'll put the links in the show notes so we don't make any mistakes. And hope to see you out there at Sierra Trek in the second weekend.
It is cal4wheel.com.
Second weekend of...
Oh, and they have .org. You're right. Both.
I think
they own it all.
Yeah, they own. That's a smart thing to do. So yeah, hopefully we'll see you up there at Meadow Lake at camp, and yeah.
All right, I like it.
Yeah.
Anything else? Are we running out of batteries? Are we running low on batteries? Are we good this episode? I think we're good.
Better do some regen and tow me around.
I'm gonna tow the podcast unit around here and regen it a little bit. A little regen-y. All right. And with that,
we're out.